Financial aid is a term that is used a lot, but it is often used incorrectly. So let's define financial aid itself. Generally, financial aid refers to funding given to help pay for education. However, financial aid is a big term. In fact, it is too big to really be useful. And here's why. This funding, this financial aid, can come to you in different ways. To really understand financial aid, we need to dig deeper into the types of financial aid that you will encounter. Financial aid can be split into two types: need-based aid and merit-based aid. Let's look at the need-based side first. Need-based aid is funding that is given because of financial need. But need is another term that requires definition. Need is when there is a gap between the cost of attendance at a school and what your family can afford to pay. So if a school has a $50,000 cost of attendance and your family can afford to pay $10,000, then there is a gap, which means you have financial need. Now, many of us believe that we have financial need, but you are not the one to determine your own need. You usually have to apply for need-based aid. To apply for need-based aid, you will fill out and submit financial aid forms. The most common forms for international students are the CSS profile, which is sometimes just called profile, and the International Student Financial Aid Application, or ISFAA. Links to these forms are included in the reading for this unit if you would like to take a look at them. These forms and the information included on them go to the schools where you applied, and those schools will determine if you have need. Calculating need is based on a number of financial factors for you and your family, from how much your parents earn, to how many people are in your family, to investments and beyond. Something to keep in mind is that different schools calculate need differently. So sometimes one school might determine that you have more or less need than another school. Something that you must understand is that not all schools offer need-based aid to international students. Those schools that do offer need-based aid to international students have a limited amount of funding that they can offer. We'll talk about that more in an upcoming video. The reality is that there is more demand for need-based financial aid than there is supply. Be prepared to face this reality as you search for schools and funding. Now, while not all schools offer need-based aid to international students, many do. And for those schools, you need to dig even deeper to see what forms of need-based aid they offer. Remember, need-based aid is a type of aid, and that type of aid comes in different forms. Here's another financial aid term for you to learn: grant. Aid in the form of a grant means that you will not have to repay that money. Money that you do not have to repay is sometimes called gift aid. However, aid can also come in the form of a loan that you will have to repay. Loans are still considered financial aid, but you are still paying that money over time. Now, it's rare that you will be offered a loan as an international student, but if you are offered a loan, understand that it is not gift aid. When it comes to need, schools have different policies about how much need they will meet. Some schools will meet your full need, meaning that if you are accepted, they will give you funding for the entire amount of financial need as determined by your financial aid application. They will bridge that gap between the cost of attendance and what your family can afford to pay. However, most schools cannot offer to meet your full need. They might offer you financial aid, but you and your family could still have some unmet financial need. The school might be able to bridge part of the gap, but it is up to you and your family to build the rest of the bridge, which can be a challenge. If you believe that you have large financial need, then you should look carefully to find schools that offer need-based aid specifically to international students. When you find those schools, take the time to understand their policies on how need-based financial aid is awarded and how those policies will affect you personally.